Hello everybody and welcome to something, well, a little bit different. This is PC Building Simulator. I'm going to dive right in, we're going to check this game out. I've been playing it for a while. It came out in early access last year and I picked it up shortly after it came out in early access, but it feels like it's getting pretty close to finished. The finished product is almost out. I believe they're getting really close to the end of development. It's a fully playable game, but the idea is that you run a shop. You run a PC building shop, and basically you're just running it out of this little office here. You inherit it from your uncle, I think it was, as the story goes. It's a very light on story content in the game. It's not really much of a story. Basically, you inherit this shop. Your uncle, like, had to leave or something, moved to Florida, whatever it was, who cares? And you inherit his little PC building shop, repair shop, that sort of thing. And you can order parts. There's a lot of modern, actual, real parts. You have Intel processors, AMD processors, graphics cards from both AMD and NVIDIA, and lots of real-life parts. Of course, all the RAM and the power supplies and the memory, all that is, real parts that you can actually buy in real life. And so they brought that into a simulation-style game where you diagnose PC problems, you build computers, you sell computers, that sort of thing. It's all like a little job simulator, and it's interesting. It's a nice way to pass time. It's a chill, little relaxed game. There's no stress involved in it. Something I like to play while I'm waiting on videos to render, that sort of thing. But so I thought, I've had fun with it. Why not show something, show a little content for the game? It's a little different. It's a little break from the zombies and the killing and the the Resident Evil and the 7 Days to Die. It's a change of pace. I thought I would try something different. But the basic idea is you have your PC right here that you can come to and check your email every day and get your jobs. You can choose to accept jobs or reject them based on the parameters that they sent you an email. Some of it's pretty interesting. I like reading the emails. Some of the stuff's pretty funny. You get, like, some of them are sort of like mission type jobs where the same person will come back to you a few times here and there, and they'll continue to build their PC and make it better. Like, I think one of the jobs is for a Twitch streamer. Not anyone real, of course, but they wanted to grow their career, and so they got you to build them a PC to get them into it. And then, as time progressed, as the story, or as the time progressed to your building computers, he comes back to you and he wants some upgrades so he can get more FPS and that sort of thing. But the basics of the game is a lot of diagnosing PC problems and fixes, that sort of thing. This one has a bad CPU in it. This is a really easy one to diagnose. Literally, you just turn it on. Everything powers on, but there's no display to the screen, and it says no CPU found when it tries to enter the BIOS. That one's a really easy one. Some of them are a little more difficult, where you get a bad motherboard and nothing happens when you hit the power button. There is power buttons on all the cases, so you can, like, walk up, if I can figure out where it's at, you can walk up to it and hit the power button to actually turn the computer on and off. It's a little shortcut if you just hit the P key on your keyboard, which I find to be a lot better. This one also has a dead CPU in it, so 2 easy fixes on this. But the idea is that you can diagnose the problems, you can fix these computers, you can disassemble them, you can clean them. Like this one right here is really, really dusty. So, for instance, on this PC right here, I would first take off the cooler here, which has got a water cooler on this PC, little all-in-one water cooler. Open up the CPU shroud and see what processor's in there. So it's a G4500. That's a little Pentium processor there. And you go to the shop. You have a lot of options. You can unlock more. I haven't unlocked everything in the game yet, but a lot of these are like apps and programs that you can use to customize things. There's a custom water cooling shop where you can buy radiators and reservoirs and CPU blocks to make really custom high-end PCs. Get all the fittings and everything to run water cooling. Some really neat stuff in there. That was in one of the more recent updates, so they added that. You can go to a PC Bay, which is basically eBay, and you can buy and sell used parts from there. I found it kind of lucrative to buy find some good deals on some used parts, and then build used PCs and sell them on PC Bay, eBay as it were here. In fact, I've got like 4 up for sale right now that I built with used parts. They don't end for a few days, but there's a little app you can get to track market trends on PC Bay, and you can kind of see, like, complete PCs are trending upwards right now. So I listed a bunch of them for sale that I had, a bunch of spare parts and assembled computers, and just an extra little way of making a little extra money. And I guess the goal is to fully buy the shop from your uncle. You start off with, like, it's Tim's rad computer repairs or whatever it was called, and you have to like invest so much money in the company to buy the name from. You can change the name from your uncle or whatever's shop. So we come over here to the shop. Basically, we diagnosed that problem. It was the CPU, and that was a G4500. So we got to add this to our cart. We're going to need to buy this that processor to replace in this one. And every PC has a budget. That part's going to stay in budget. Like if they want you to build a computer that will play, say, Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1 or PUBG. They say you want to play PUBG at recommended settings. They send you basically their budget for it, and you assemble the parts, and you build that computer for them that will play PUBG at the recommended specs. And it's challenging in that you have to meet. You can't just go like crazy on every build and buy, 2080 Ti's for every single computer because you have a budget to meet. So it can be a little bit challenging to meet that budget sometimes, and still be able to, meet the requirements of the job and also complete the budget. I'm just going to put this guy's cooler back on so I don't forget which one is his later on, like tomorrow, because I ordered that part, and you can adjust when it will show up. If you go to your cart, you can order it in 3 to 5 business days, which is only $10 to ship it to you, or you can get it next day delivery for $30 or same day delivery for $100. I generally send most everything next day, so I don't have a bunch of PCs piled up here that I'm trying to work on, and I forget which part goes where. So I basically just order everything overnight, so it pops in the next morning. I pick up the parts, I go pop them in, the job's done, I send it off to the customer. This one here also needed a... this is an interesting case here. It's almost kind of like an upside down backwards case. I like this case design, but this one also needs a CPU. Let me see what the budget is on this one. $360. Oh, this is could be an expensive CPU, or it could have multiple things wrong with it. Sometimes you find if you replace one part, that doesn't necessarily fix everything. So it's got an i7-8700 in it. Let's go to the processors and type in 8700. That is a 360. Wow, that's an expensive. That's one of the new Coffee Lake processors. Okay, that's probably why. So that is a $360 processor. So yeah, I'm not going to have to buy any other parts because that meets the budget. And it kind of makes it cheesy on these jobs in that they are a little bit easy, that you can just say, oh, okay, well, that's the problem because the CPU costs $360 and the game actually won't give you a job that requires you to spend more than the budget anyways on the diagnosis things. This is just on normal difficulty. It may be harder on the hard difficulty. I haven't tried it yet. But we've got a job to build somebody a PC, and I just want to go through that really quickly. This is the one I'm going to build right here. This guy says, hi, I'm in the market for a new PC. My mate's PC benchmarked at 9633, so you can run benchmarks in the game, and they score based on the hardware and how you overclock them. You can overclock the hardware to get better performance out of it. So he wants to get at least that. Can you install an AIO, an all-in-one AIO water cooler in it? And Intel components are supposed to be the bomb. I know used parts can be cheaper, but I'd like new ones, please. So I accepted this job, and the parts came in for it overnight. And this is the case I'm going to be building this in. And you can select all kinds of stuff to custom build, and basically you get a sticker to say, okay, this is going to be the build for this guy. You put the sticker on the desk. I've unlocked all the desks. You basically just start off with one desk, and as you progress through the game, you can unlock other desks. You can unlock this storage closet to store extra PCs and cases and things like that. I've got the ones I've got for sale. I've been storing them in here, and then extra cases that I've got sitting around, I've been storing them in here, so they're not just taking up space everywhere. There's only a couple places you can place extra cases, either right here in the hallway coming in or on an actual desk, and the only other option you have is to throw them in the closet here. So quickly I'm going to go through this build here. We've got to score 9633 and install an all-in-one water cooler with, he said he wanted an Intel components are the bomb, right? So we're going to disassemble the case, first of all. I've got a couple of add-ons that you can purchase, not purchase, but unlock in the game that allow you to like untwist the screws faster, that sort of thing, because it can be kind of tedious doing this over and over again. So you get a couple of the upgrades that makes it faster, so it's not so tedious that way, which makes it a much more enjoyable experience. So I've got, this is the motherboard I chose. This is a Coffee Lake Z370 motherboard from NZXT. This is an actual motherboard you can buy in real life. They use actual licensed products, so it's really nice that you get a touch of realism in this game. Basically, you would assemble this computer here in this simulation, in this game, just like you would in real life. You want to put in your motherboard and your CPU and your RAM and all that, your graphics card, your storage, your power supply. I'm going to open up a couple slots for our RAM, install our processor here, which is an 8700K, which is what I chose for this build. I kind of wanted to go all pretty heavy on the processor and graphics card, because we got to hit 9633 on a benchmark, which is not easy with the hardware I've unlocked so far. As you progress, you unlock better and better hardware, like newer tiered stuff. Like, I haven't even unlocked the newest GPUs that came out just this year. And late last year, what are they? The RTX cards from NVIDIA and the new Radeon cards from AMD. I haven't unlocked those yet in the game. They are in the game, but I haven't unlocked them. I haven't progressed far enough. Basically, you level up. Once you level up, you get this XP up to a certain point. You level up, and as you progress through the levels, that's when it unlocks things. Also, they have a rating system. I'll show you that really quickly on how well you complete jobs. You get a rating for your business, and I'm at like 4 and what is that? 5/8 stars or something, but you can check it right here, your previous reviews over the past 25 reviews, and you can see how you've been doing. Like, I get 5 stars on most of them. A couple of them I missed something, like they wanted certain color cables in their computer, and I'm like, I didn't really pay attention to it. I just kind of skimmed over the emails, like, yeah, I'll build you this computer, no problem. But he's like, oh, I wanted red cables in it. Oh, you can only get 4 stars. So I'm not quite at 5 stars. And some jobs require you to be at 5 stars to unlock them. Let's go ahead and install our memory, our RAM here. All of the stuff I just got in is going to be at the very bottom of the list, so I chose a pretty good set of RAM here for this build. And I kind of went with a theme. I'm going with a white and black theme. The case is white and black, the motherboard's white and black, the RAM is white and black. And so I wanted to do like a little theme here of a white and black build, just so everything kind of matches. I think I chose a cooler here. Yes, the Cooler Master, a water cooler. Where am I going to mount this? It's got to mount up front in this case. So I have to remove the hard drive bay. I'm not going to be using a hard disk drive. I'm going to be using SSD in this drive, so in this build, so I won't need that hard drive bay at all anyway. So let me scroll back down to my water cooler, because we had to use an AIO, so this is the one I chose for this because it's got a white label on it, and it's a black cooler. So next, we need our GPU. I'm trying to see where the slot is at on this, and I think it's going to need both of these. I chose a 1080 for this build, a GTX 1080, because they overclock really well. Oh, see, I'm going to need... Oh, I pulled out the wrong slot right there. Let me install that top one so it doesn't look stupid when I install the graphics card. There we go. Every motherboard's a little bit different. Every motherboard and case is a little bit different. They're all unique, obviously. There we go. Let's install that one right there. And there's lots of different brands, lots of different styles. You can have all kinds of customized options, you know, from the color of the graphics card being red or green or black or white, all kinds of LEDs and stuff you can install in these cases, RGB, tons and tons of options. The cables, I haven't even unlocked all the cables yet, but as you can see, there's tons of different colors for the cables. You can get really custom with that stuff, and especially when you get into the case fans, you can install all sorts of different colored case fans, which I have a ton in storage right now. But then you can install some RGB ones, get some really cool options. I think I'm going to go with white case fans on this, and I'm going to take this one right here off because it's black, and I think a white case fan right there would look good. But we need to install our power supply, which I am going with a 600. No, I'm going... Is it 600? Should I go with 600 or 750 on this build? I think a 600 might be enough power. No, we're going to overclock pretty heavy. Let's go with a 750 to be sure. I keep a couple of extra power supplies because I hate to be like, put in one that doesn't meet the power requirements of the hardware we're installing. Let's go with a 750. And then I have to order a better power supply and wait on it to come in the next day, and it holds up the build and all that. So I'd rather just keep a couple of those. And same with case fans. Like I'm kind of anal about it. It's like, should I use a 120? Yeah, we're going to go with a 120 on this. I wouldn't want to go back and have to wait on the build because of a case fan, so I keep a bunch of them, you know, that sort of thing. And the last thing we need is our storage, our SSD. I'm just going with a, which I should have installed first, but luckily the slot is right here. So this is a M.2 SSD, which installs directly to the motherboard, so there's nowhere else you have to install it on the case. I wonder if I can put that hard drive cage back in now that we have room, and I cannot because it interferes with the water cooler. So we'll just have a little bit of an empty gap right here. If we were doing water cooling, this would be a great spot for a reservoir right here to run our water cooling loop through. We remove that drive cage, you got a lot of extra room. But let's go ahead and install our cables here. I think I'm going to go with some white sleeved cables. I wonder if white or black would look better. We'll kind of play around with it, see which one looks good. I think I may do a combination. Let's see which one looks good. I think a white cable coming out of a black graphics card looks good. Now right here, it may actually look better to a black cable coming out of the white motherboard. It will give it a little contrast that way. Yeah, I like that. All right, so that cable, you can't choose the color of that because that's built into the AIO, the water cooler there. Let's connect the motherboard with a... I think I'm gonna go white with that one. Let me get that white cable again. Which one was it? Oh, is this one up here? We got several different ones. They have different styles of cables too. If you look at them, these are all individually sleeved cables. They have some cables that are here. You can see it with this one right here. They're like a tight weave cable. You see, instead of them being all individual strands, this is one single cable that's wound up tight in one cord. I mean, it's individual cables, but it's wound up into one sleeve. So you have all kinds of options you can play around with these things. I think that one looks okay. It may actually look better with black. I know I'm being nitpicky, right? Like, really, who cares, Jimmy? But I don't know. I like playing around with it. You have some really nice... The game gives you plenty of customization options, so why not take advantage of them, right? And let me connect the power button to the motherboard here, and we're pretty much done. We need to install an operating system, so we need a thumb drive, USB drive, to install that with. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's power it on. I'm just going to use a shortcut for P. This graphics card has RGB lighting right here, so we can change the lighting of that. If we had installed RAM with RGB lighting, we could change the lighting of that with software. And even the fans, some of them have RGB. Some of the liquid coolers have RGB lighting where you can, adjust the lighting. So you can have tons of customization options. Let's install that front panel there, the side panel. Let's get that going there. All right, so this is kind of where I leave it while I'm benchmarking things and setting up my overclock. The idea is we need to install a little bit of software. We can install lighting controlling software, but I don't really have anything RGB on that one except for the GPU. So I install that. I'll install the benchmarking software, the 3D Mark software, which is an actual benchmarking software in real life. I've used it plenty of times to test out GPUs and different setups, overclocking, that sort of thing. And then we have a GPU overclocking utility, and then an OCCT, which is another real-life piece of software they've licensed that is good for monitoring your temperatures and hardware settings to make sure everything is stable when you are overclocking and going for extreme, pushing the limits of these things. You want to know what your limits are without everything crashing. So we've got all our software loaded. We're going to restart the PC. Wait a second here for it to pop back up, and we're going to go into our overclock settings and overclock this. I'm not familiar with this 8700, how well it will overclock, but I know the RAM should be really easy. I just turn on the XMP profile built into the motherboard. It's a simple one-click overclock. This is again, this is based on real overclocking. You can just turn on an XMP profile, which the motherboard manufacturer has decided this is a safe and easy overclock that all sticks of RAM should be able to achieve based on their testing. And boom, you're done. That's the overclocking for the RAM. I generally just stick with that because it's super easy. And I'm not going to get into any crazy overclocking with this, so I'm just going with a basic base overclock. I'm going to pump this up to 5 gigahertz. And I think it should do this at 1.4 volts. It may need a little bit more, but I'm going to try and keep the voltage as low as possible to keep the temperatures as low as possible. And then the settings here, apply the changes and restart this. And let's see how it... oh, shoot, I hit the wrong button. My bad. And then let's see how it comes out here. Pop it up here. There we go. So here's all our software. Let's check out the lighting. So we can adjust the lighting on this. And we could go with pretty much any color we want. We could go with a blue, which might actually not look too bad in this. Let me see how it looks with the case on. Side panel's kind of tinted. Yeah, I don't know about that blue. Let's go with a white. If we can get it like really bright white on it. Yeah, that looks good. Just like that. Perfect. There's a little bit of orange accent on the graphics card, but other than that, everything is black and white in the whole case. So I like that theme. That was the theme I was going for. Looks pretty cool. So now we need to do our overclocking. I'm going to keep up my OCCT right here to monitor the temperatures as we're going through this. And I'm going to actually run a quick test because that CPU temp looks pretty high. We're going to see if that's going to be a stable overclock before we proceed any further. It crashed. Wow, okay, so that's not a stable overclock. We need to give it more voltage. But the temps were already really high, so instead of giving it more voltage, I could bump this up to 1.45 and probably get away with this overclock. But the temps were pretty high for that water cooler. So I'm just going to lower the overclock down, keep it at 1.4 volts, and restart that, and it should hold at 4.9. That should be a really easy overclock for this. And one of the interesting things is, just like in real life, different silicone performs differently. Parts, CPUs, graphics cards perform differently. They're all unique, basically, parts. And like I could go buy 100 different 1080s, GTX 1080s, and they're all going to perform a little bit differently. They're going to have a little bit different temperatures when you overclock them. They're going to have a little bit different peak overclock that they can achieve. They're all a little bit different based on the manufacturing process, and sometimes some just turn out better than others. Sometimes some just turn out worse than others. Typically, you should be able to hit it pretty easy on an 8700K. I think you can hit 5 gigahertz pretty easy on this. I may have got a bad chip. I may just need to pump more voltage in it and get a better cooler on it. But I'm not going to go back and rebuild this. I'm in the end phase. I am confident that this. Oh shoot, still not stable. I am confident that this will hit the GPU score, the benchmarking score that we need. I'm going to bump it down to 4.8. That's pretty lame, actually. That's a pretty bad overclock. I must have not got a very good bin chip. Alright, try it one more time here. That should be stable there. Watch our temperatures here at 49. You don't want to get into 90s. Anything below 90 is really good. Is good, I guess I should say. So we're at 80, call it 82C, 82 Celsius. So that's perfectly fine for this. I would have preferred it to have overclocked a little bit better, but now this is the GPU overclocking software. And we're going to overclock this. Let's see, this 1080 should overclock about 300 and... Well, no, the 1080s don't overclock quite that much. Let's start at 250 and go up from there. 250 plus megahertz on the core clock, and let's get the RAM at about 500, and we'll go up from there just to kind of see how the temps look. Apply that, restart the test, and I think that may be a bit too high on the memory. It may crash. I forgot that that memory doesn't. Yeah, that memory doesn't like that 500. It usually holds at about 350 to 400. We'll try that one more time. Let's try 350 to be safe. I think it should still hit the score we want on that. And check the temps on that now. Maybe a bit high for a GTX 1080, or this one at least. Where are we gonna fall at on the temps? That should be stable. A little high on the temps, and it crashed because of the temperature. So I need to bump that overclock down to maybe 275 on the GPU, and we should be stable. I like that it doesn't take as long as it does in real life to reboot your CPU. Yeah, let's bump that down to, say, 220, and we should be good right there. Let's bump that down 10 megahertz to 340. Both of those... The memory clock really affects your temperature a lot. Let's go down to 325. I think we can still hit our numbers with that. Let's try that one more time. And now this is overclocking everything, the CPU and the GPU all at once. And this is what really puts a strain on your power supply. Like I mentioned earlier, it's at 91. So we're right at the cusp, like the bare edge of what it can handle. I'm going to drop this down to 300 to keep my temps down low. Just like that. And now our temps are at 90. Our max is at 91. That was at that higher overclock. But it's hitting 90. And 90 is pretty much the ragged edge. You could go a little bit higher, but you start running the risk of it crashing while it's running the program. So now we're going to run the benchmarking program. This is 3D Mark. This is their what do they call this? Time Spy is this name of this program. This is a real program you can buy and run. Actually, they may have a free version of this, but anyways, you can run this program yourself, and it's almost identical to the real actual program, the simulation that's running here in the game. And like I said, different hardware gets different scores. It runs a CPU test here at first. That's what's running right now. You can see the average frame rate, how many frames it's ran, and how long the test has been running. This is a GPU test right here. So you see our GPU's putting about 55 frames per second, 54, 55, and then the third test will be like a combined test, and that will be the one that really strains your power supply the most because it pushes everything to the max. And if you have any power supply issues or temperature issues, that's when it will crash, and you have to restart everything. So I went with a 750 watt power supply from the beginning just to make sure. Now we have to hit 9633, which should be pretty easy given this setup. I've run this setup before and hit this score. I'm pretty sure I was able to hit this score. We'll see. I may have been using 2 GPUs. I may have to go back and add a second one, but you can go back and add a second graphics card and overclock the 2 of them then, which you would probably need an even more powerful power supply at that point. Let's see, this should be coming close to the end of the test here. Just a few more seconds. There we go. We are way short. I'm gonna need 2 GPUs. Okay, 8492. So this is where the budget comes into play. All right, I've only got $143. I cannot add another $600 GPU to this. So what I've got to do is get a little bit creative. I'm using the best Intel CPU, so I cannot get a better CPU, right? Currently there's not a better CPU than the 8700K that I've unlocked in the game. The 8700K, I'm pretty sure, is the highest tier Intel CPU. Yes, that's the latest Coffee Lake overclockable CPU, 8700K. So what I've got to do is figure out a way to hit that score with 2 GPUs instead of 1. Let's try this. Let's go with 2 1070s and see if we can make that fit in our budget. In fact, I may actually have one in my inventory already. That's the 1080 we had installed. Let's see if I've got a 1070. That's another 1080. It's another 1080. I must have installed on my 1070s and sold them off. Another 1080. Okay. And he did say that he did not... I've got like 5 1080s right now. I think he did say he did not want used parts, right? Yes, I know used parts can be cheaper, but I like new ones. So this one is challenging, actually, to hit his budget. Let's order graphics cards. Let's order 2 1070s. And let's sort this by price ascending. Let's get a couple of cheaper ones. I still want to keep that black and white theme. So, but that's kind of pushing the price. I don't think we've got enough money for that. Hang on, let's see what our budget is right now. We've got $833. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, I gotta redo some rethinking here, some reworking. $800 is not going to get me 2 1070s. 833. Let me do the math on this. Even the cheapest 1070 is going to be $1,020, so I am not going to be able to come anywhere close with a 1070. You cannot run SLI on 1060s, or I'm sorry, 2 graphics cards if you're using a 1060, which would be the next step down. So let me pull up this software right here and see what performs similarly in the AMD lineup. The Vega 56, if that's a cheaper price point, might be a better option. Maybe a couple of 980 Ti's. 980 Ti's might hit it. Let me try the Vega 56. I've actually not built anything with the Vega 56. What do they cost? Oh, they cost even more than the 1070. Okay, so never mind that. Let's go with the 980 Ti. We might be able to afford that, a 980 Ti. Unfortunately, they mess up our color scheme. So that's $870 if we got 2 of the cheapest 980 Ti's. But those overclock really well, so $870. That's going to mean we've got to lose some money somewhere. We'll be like $40 over in budget, which means we need to get cheaper RAM. We need to find cheaper RAM. It's a really expensive set of overclockable RAM I used because I was really trying to push that. Let's get the 980 Ti's. I'm confident that those will work. I was confident that the 1080 would work, but it didn't come quite far enough. let's get 2 of those 980 Ti's, and I need to get some cheaper memory. I need to shave about $40 off of that kit. You can sort it by the frequency, and that was a 3733 kit, so those cost $135 a piece. So I need to stick with somewhere around a $100 budget. So let's try a 3600 speed RAM kit, which will perform a little bit less in the benchmarking, but should still, let's see, that'll save me about 20 bucks on a pair of those. That's going to be really close on the budget. I can get the G-Skill Sniper X, which is $120, which will save me like 30 bucks. Let me see what that costs right here. Let me just do the math. Oh, I got to take that one out. That's 2 CPUs we need to buy for the fixes. So that'll put us at $1,110 worth of parts. So let me remove this other RAM and see if we're close. $1,110. We have $1,103. So that would put us $7 over budget. Like I said, this is where the challenge comes in. Let me try removing this case fan. I can put a cheaper case fan in there to meet the budget. I didn't quite plan this one out perfectly. Let's put one of these cheap case fans in. Actually, you know what? I've got a white one that's cheaper, don't I? I've got a white case fan that's cheap. What are these? I don't think I can fit a 140 in there. No, I need a 120 millimeter. This one right here, which will still actually kind of fit our scheme. It's not quite the same tone of white. You know, it's a little bit duller white, like an eggshell white versus this brilliant white, if you'll call it that. But that should do $1,110 in our budget. That's going to fit it perfectly. All right, let me get this ordered. I'm actually going to splurge for the immediate shipping. Let's go ahead and get those other 2 CPUs. I got to add those back to my list. I forgot which ones they were. And we'll get this ordered, and we'll fix this thing up and benchmark it one more time and hopefully hit our scores. All right, so I'm almost done with this. This is one of the cases we had to install the CPUs in. I had to be dusting this one out, make sure I got all the dust out of it. I think that's all of it. Looks good from here. And then he wanted some custom orange sleeve cables in there, so I went ahead and installed those on it. It is powered up and ready to go. Should be done with this one. I should be able to place it out and collect the job on it. Let's see, install the front panel. That looks pretty good with those orange cables in there. Yeah, that's not bad. So we'll pick it up once we're done with the job. Place it outside here in the hallway. This one over here should be done as well. After I installed the CPU, the customer also wanted a virus scan. That is done now. I installed virus scanning software and finished it up. Our benchmark is almost done over there as well. So let's set this one out here and come back and check on this. Oh yeah, it's almost done. Just a few more seconds there. I want to see it end. I want to make sure it ends because I was worried about the power supply not being enough for 2 GPUs once we overclocked them, but it looks like it's going to make it. This is the most stressful situation. If it was going to crash due to a lack of power, it would do it right here. But it passed. All right, we got a 93.55, and we needed a 96.33, so we're still short. I don't know what I got to do to hit this score. Maybe go back in and tweak my GPU overclocks, tweak my CPU overclocks as well. We got to get a little bit more push out of this. All right, collecting the money in these jobs. Here's the guy who wanted the braided cables in there after I repaired it. Collect a job on that. Got 5 stars on it because we installed the orange cables that he wanted. We only used new parts like he wanted, and we completed the job. We got 5 stars for that rating. Discard that email. This is the one we're still working on. I think I realized what the problem was. I forgot to overclock the GPUs because I had to go after I pulled the RAM and the power supply out. I installed a bigger power supply, which was actually cost the same as the 750 watt power supply. I installed a different brand. There was an 850 watt power supply, so the cost remained the same because I was afraid that 750 watt power supply would not be enough to overclock these two, and I forgot to go back and overclock it once I installed them. So it was basically running on no overclock, but now they are overclocked and should do just fine. This last one here, this is one that we had to do a virus scan on as well. He said, oh, I think I clicked on something bad. I got a virus. They don't really tell you I got a virus. They just say, oh, I clicked on something bad, or my kid was playing with my computer and now it's running slow. But yeah, anyways, I fixed it. Got 5 stars on it. Awesome. Discard that one. Now we're waiting on this last one to see what the score is. Oh my god, it crashed! No! This is being a very difficult one. I'll have to tweak the overclock just a bit, I think. Tone it down just a hair, and we should be able to do it. It's running right at the ragged edges of what it can perform at. Let's bump this down to about 200 megahertz there, and say about 80 on the memory. This is 2 graphics cards, and each one of these pulls a lot of power. So we'll run this test one more time. Let's hope we get it. All right, fingers crossed. This is going to be the one that passes right here. We did it! Ah, see, I just forgot to overclock the GPUs, and then I overclocked them so much I was overdrawing the power supply, which is 850 watt power supply. Those 980 Ti's draw a lot of power, plus that CPU, that 8700K, is a power hog. So altogether, we got it. We finally dialed it in just right. We had enough GPU to push our CPU score over the top. We needed to hit 9633, I think it was, and we got it at 10,449. They do have like a Hall of Fame, and I hope at one point they will add a leaderboard, a high scoreboard or something like that. But that's a lot of it. It's fiddling with the settings, getting the overclocks just right, and overclocking, and even more advanced things is you can buy a bunch of different CPUs and GPUs and test them all until you get like that golden sample that overclocks really well, that sort of thing. But we're done with this one. That is going to wrap that one up. Place it here in the hallway. Let's collect our payment on this. We're going to get paid pretty well on this job. Collect. We got 5 stars. We only used new parts, and we installed Intel, which is what the customer wanted, with an AI water cooler. Hit the score. Bada boom, 2,586 bucks. Big time money for that job. But that's just a basic one-day little operation. We came in, did a few jobs. It took a little bit longer than usual because we had to fiddle around with that one on the overclock settings to get them dialed in just right, that sweet spot where it met the score but didn't overdraw power on the power supply. That's going to wrap up this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. I've had fun playing this game. This is something I like to do in the spare time, you know, in my downtime when I'm not doing anything else. Like I said, it's a nice distraction. It's a relaxing game. You're not killing zombies or fighting anything, running from any terrible Mr. X and Resident Evil or anything like that. So it's cool, a nice little change of pace. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.